All right. Welcome back to Friends for Good, episode 12. We are still rocking and rolling. Carson Fowler and I, Zach Lehner. This week, I am not at home. I am filming from my friend's house in Montauk, New York. We are here for me and a bunch of the guys I went to college with. We're here for Memorial Day weekend at our
Yes,
buddy's
sir.
place.
Yes, sir.
And we had a late night last night. It was a lot of fun. But back at it this morning, ready to go, ready to work on our theme for the week, which is why it is important to practice gratitude. And just as a blanket statement before we get into our stories, and we'll talk about this more later, but I think that expressing and practicing gratitude is really the foundation for appreciating your own life and allowing yourself to be positive about the things that are happening to you and going back to just the whole idea of not the, why me mindset, but like, why do I get to do this? Why am I so fortunate to have this? And I think
Yep.
it translates to really everything else in your life in a positive way. So with that, I'm going to kick us off with our first story, and that is that high school students in Vienna, Virginia surprised their high school custodian with his dream car. So in
What?
Yes. So students at a high school in Vienna, Virginia, they noticed how much their school's custodian, I might butcher this name, but I think Francis Apraku, cared. He just cared for everyone around him, made such a difference every day in their lives just by not necessarily doing anything, you know, out of the ordinary other than just being kind and making an effort to get to know the students, which I think they really appreciated. And so Francis had moved to Ghana or moved from Ghana to America. And he just became known for constantly encouraging his students, praying for them, and treating everyone with kindness. And after hearing that his dream car was a Jeep Wrangler, the students secretly
Oh,
started a fundraiser thinking it might take years. But instead, the whole community rallied behind the idea and helped them raise over $20,000 in just a few months. The students surprised Francis with a red Jeep Wrangler in a parking lot near the school. Francis immediately fell to the ground crying and saying, "Oh my God," because he couldn't believe people appreciated him that much.
nah, man. Nah. It's too
Yeah,
early for this, bro. Bro, that is such a good story, bro.
it's
Way too early for that.
it cuts so deep on so many levels, but I just think when you are yourself the way Francis was, and it's just in his nature to just be kind and encourage those around him,
Yeah.
it's so many people receive that kindness in their life, but don't know how to express the gratitude properly. And it doesn't necessarily have to be expressed in a material good like a Jeep Wrangler, right? Like it doesn't
Yeah.
always have to be that. But the fact that the students got to know him to the point where it was like that's his dream. He wanted that car. He grew up wanting like loving a Jeep Wrangler and just
Yeah.
made it happen through action is one of the greatest ways of expressing gratitude that I have found in recent.
Bro, bro, I just think good things happen to good people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very much a believer in karma. Like, what goes around comes around. And clearly, Francis was just enough of a joy in these students' lives where they felt like they had to repay him in some way. And I like what you said, like it doesn't have to be a material good. It reminds me of the story of the custodian in one of our earlier episodes when they did sign language for his 60th birthday. Like
Yes.
it can be anything, but it's just people caring about people, you
And
know?
and I love that you said that because just going back to the whole thing, like I think he would have equally appreciated a different gesture, right? Like
For sure.
it's just about knowing that the people that you care about, like you get that reciprocity. And I think the best part about it is Francis didn't expect that reciprocity. Like
Nah.
but it's important in any good relationship to function. And the fact that they did that and kept it a secret too because they wanted it to be so special was like I just can't imagine how the students felt like being so eager to give
Yeah.
this and they have to wait, they have to do this, but it just made it all that much better. And that it just made me happy. I'm so happy that Francis got that.
And before we get to our next story, I'll just add, like, you just think about for the rest of his life, when he gets in that car, he'll be reminded of the exact moment when his students basically bought him his dream car. And the same thing can be said for the students. Whenever he arrives at school and they see that red Jeep Wrangler, they're going to be like, we did that. We
Yeah.
did that. On the tiers of stories that we've had on this show, I think that is at the very top. Really good find. So my story, it's I would say it's hard to follow up what you just brought us, but my story is actually about your mayor, the New York City mayor, Zoran Mamdani. So I don't know if you saw this, Zach, but he announced he's giving away 1,000 tickets to the
Mhm.
FIFA World Cup. And when I say 1,000 tickets, I'm talking about affordable tickets, not like thousands of dollars like the most of them are. They will cost $50 each. That also includes a free round trip bus transportation to and from wherever you are to the stadium. And the program covers 5 group stage matches and 2 knockout games. There's about 150 tickets available per match. And there's going to be a lottery for the tickets. If you're 15 years or older, you can enter the lottery. It starts on May 25th, it goes through May 30th, and then winners will be selected on June 3rd. But I just think that's so cool because you think about soccer, right? Like it's not a sport like lacrosse or baseball or hockey where you have to invest a lot of money into it to play. Like soccer, you really just need a ball and cleats, right? So you get a lot of people that come from less fortunate situations to play soccer, and that's why it's a global sport everywhere because pretty much everyone can play it. I mean, you really don't even need cleats. You can just play barefoot as long as you've got a ball. And you think about the a number of people in New York City that would probably love to go to the World Cup, but it's just out of reach financially. And granted, 1,000 tickets may not be, in the grand scheme of things, a lot, but to the people that win those tickets, it's going to mean the world to them.
At the very least, he's giving everyone a fair chance,
Better
right?
than nothing.
Better than nothing. And I think what it really comes down to is it's exactly what you said. Like the reason football or soccer is the largest sport in the entire world is because it requires no equipment. It
Right.
requires a ball. A goal can be whatever you want it to be. It could be 2 sticks in the ground. Like,
Yep.
so anyone in the world, everyone in the world can play that sport. And because everyone in the world can play that sport, everyone in the world should be able to watch that sport at its highest
Yes.
level.
Yes. And you
Um,
think about how many times has the World Cup come through the United States? I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure it's like the first or second time.
I think it's the second, but I mean, the next one might not be for another 100 years. I mean, there's
Exactly.
100, I don't know, what, 90 countries, 83 countries? I don't know,
Dude,
but
like
it's,
not maybe not even in our lifetime.
yeah. So the fact that he's at least giving everyone the chance to see this in their lifetime is
So
unbelievable.
cool. So
And,
cool.
you know, I think there's specifically, I'm not going to go on a tangent, but I think with him, there's also like general criticism and people are like expecting he promised huge things and everyone wants these huge things to happen really fast. But to me, like those small gifts to the community, that's what being a mayor is. Like obviously
Yeah.
it's policy changes, but it's making sure that people in your city are happy and like have an opportunity to really enjoy themselves. Uh,
Yes.
so
Just
I
just genuinely like a cool thing to do.
yes,
Like
absolutely.
didn't have to do that, but did.
Yes. And that to me is an amazing gift. I think everyone's going to be grateful for that, but I think he's grateful that he has the opportunity to give back to his community in such an impactful way.
Yes.
Like that's what
Yes.
he worked his whole life to be able to do.
Yeah,
Um,
you get in a position like that to be able to do things like that.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And we don't see it enough, and I'm certainly grateful to live in a city where it's clear that he cares about the people living there.
Dude, you should enter the lottery.
Oh, I am. Don't get me wrong. I'm
100%.
on that. I'm on that site. I want to go to the World Cup, and I don't want to pay hundreds of dollars. So I'll be on the site. I'm a resident. I don't have hundreds to spend on the World Cup. I will be in the lottery.
You will be in the lottery. I love it.
I'm a gambler, so I'm entering the lottery for sure. All right. So with that, I'll move on to our last story. This is actually another sign language story. I love them. So this woman learned sign language just so that she could thank her deaf neighbors. So after losing her husband, 74-year-old Linda Patterson struggled with loneliness and isolation. Her deaf neighbors, Simon and Rachel, they were constantly checking on her, helped her around the house, and made sure that she never felt alone. Linda said that their kindness changed one of the hardest periods of her entire life, and so without telling them, she spent nearly a year learning sign language at a community center. 74. She's 74. Okay, so I'll get into that in a second. But during a neighborhood gathering, she surprised them by signing an entire thank you speech herself. And the couple became emotional, and everyone at the event was applauding. And it was just, I think there's this saying like you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And kind of once you get to a certain age, you get stuck in your ways a bit.
Yeah.
But we discussed in our first episode why is curiosity important with the Ohio State program for the people over 60 and the fact that you should never
Yep.
stop learning your entire life. And in this case, Linda wasn't just learning for herself, she was learning a whole new language just so that she could express gratitude.
Yeah.
Uh, and that to me is fundamental in showing appreciation, showing you care, because she did something difficult after losing her husband at 74 years old. Like, it's hard to really accept excuses from people not expressing gratitude in an appropriate way when you hear something like that.
It's just never too late, man.
Yeah.
And I don't want to step on my silent hero because it's actually a very, very similar story. It's not the same story. So I'll get to that later, but it's just never too late. Like it's like the quote that I brought up a couple weeks ago from the Packers defensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon. Like, you have no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. Like, at one point in her life, she, at the snap of a finger, just made the decision, like, these two people are going out of their way to do so much for me at such a difficult point in my life. I'm going to give back in a way that I can, in a
Yes.
way that I know they will appreciate and
Exactly.
be grateful for.
You said that you hit the nail on the head really because she did that in the way she felt was most fitting. And I think it was the same thing with the Jeep Wrangler story, right? Like it
Yep.
was they knew what he cared about the most and took action to make it happen. Her neighbors were deaf, are deaf, and she decided to thank them in a language they could clearly understand from her. Like it's about knowing the people you're trying to thank, and really you can give someone a gift you think they'll like, but when you really know someone and you know what they'll appreciate, and you just take action and make sure that they know that you went through some trouble to do it for them. It hits you in
It's
your
e-
gut.
yeah, it's even more profound, honestly.
Yes. Yes. So,
Dude, two just absolute banger stories out of you today.
I mean, I thought the Zoran story was amazing too, and I think it's just so I don't know, it's amazing what people are doing these days. And it
That's
all
why we
just
do this show, man. To highlight it. Whew, three really good stories. Should we get to quotes?
absolutely. Do you want to kick us off?
I will kick us off. I actually found this one today, this morning, looking through my day by day calendar, which is, one of these. Of course, you have one. And this was the one, the quote from Wednesday, and it's, if you count all your assets, you will always show a profit. Now, physically speaking, that might not always be true, but figuratively speaking, I think that is extremely valid. Like, when you actually like sit down and count, or at least try and think about everything that you have that's good in your life, you will just feel so good because you're not thinking about what you don't have. You're counting all of the blessings that kind of just make up who you are. And it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be material goods like a red Jeep Wrangler or whatever, but it could just be like your number of friends, or where you live, what the weather is like today, seeing the sun. Like, there's just so many things that you think about. Like, if I sat down for a couple minutes and counted all of the good things in my life, I think I would genuinely just feel so good.
I think what you really hit there was, and what the quote really hit was just that there's expressing gratitude, and I think that's what the stories we both shared were about. But practicing gratitude is
Yeah.
something you do for yourself. And when you're in need of a pick me up or in a place of maybe kind of self pity, just counting your blessings is the absolute best way to get out of any funk because you immediately realize that the issue, it's easy to say that the issues you feel or the problems you're experiencing, you're aware that they're small,
Yeah.
but you can't snap out of it because they feel so big in the moment. But the moment you start practicing gratitude for yourself, they actually feel small without you trying to make them feel small.
I forget where I read this or heard this, but it was a guy talking about if you threw everyone's problems on a table, including your own, would you still pick your problems?
I saw that too. I think it was I saw it on a reel, and it resonated. It resonated with me so much because it was like, yeah, I mean, I'll pick my problems 10 out of 10 times over anyone else's.
And
Like,
it just makes you realize how much more often we all should be practicing gratitude or at least thinking about it because you think about what everyone is going through. Like, man, life gets hard sometimes, man. But like when you take a minute to think about all the good that's happened, you start to realize it's not so bad.
yes,
Like I especially like right after you graduate college, like you're just filled with this like immense sadness because you're like, man, like I just 4 years of some of the best moments of my life is in the rear view mirror at this point. But then when you take a second and you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, I feel this way because of how good it was. And the fact that I actually am so grateful that it happened makes it that much better.
yes, yes. It's like, it's also the best way to relish memories, I think. Like, not being like exactly what you said, like not being so sad that it's over, just being happy that it happened. Like,
Yeah.
it's something, it's cliche, but it's something I've been telling all my friends who are graduating from the U right now. Like, I'm telling them just about my life right now, and I'm like, post grad is not so bad. Like, things are good, you
I
know?
was
And
I was just talking to Taco about this. David Rotako is obviously my little brother in Theta Chi, and he was like, "Dude, I'm like, it was the day of graduation, and he texted me. He's like, dude, I'm so sad to graduate," and I was like, dude, like flip your mindset. Like today is a really special day. I think when it's over, you will just be filled with such an immense happiness because you've realized you've accomplished such a great thing, surrounded by people that absolutely adore you. And you also come to this realization that you're stepping into the next stage of your life, which, like Marcus said in the episode that we had him on a couple weeks ago, is such a privilege. Like, not everyone gets to do that. And he actually texted me back. He's like, "Wow, that is such a like good perspective change, and that makes me like feel way better about it." And then he was driving home, and he's like, "I just feel grateful that it happened."
yes, yes, like that was, I mean, that was really good advice you gave him too. It was honestly probably better than what I told my friends, but
It's just like it shouldn't. It's a sad day because you're thinking about all the good that's happened in the past, but then you realize you're not actually being present because if you just enjoy the day of graduation, you really like when we graduated high school and we graduated college, you're not sad. In the moment, you're filled with just such an immense joy because you realize you have accomplished such a great thing. You're only
and
a little sad because of the stuff that happened in the past.
and I think there's this also mindset of college that is like, this is the peak. And I think that's just so wrong because
So true.
you can't remember why, you have to remember why you were at college in the first place. Like, sure, it's
Oh,
the academics,
yeah.
sure, it's whatever, but it's about you go to college for your future. I mean, that
Yes.
is, it's just planning ahead. You know it's going to end always. And yes, I had the most fun ever, and you did too, but that's not where you get to the juicy great parts of life, you know, that comes later.
Yes. Yes.
And that's when it's going to be the best. And I know
If
it.
if anything, when you get more freedom leaving high school, going to college, I would say you get even more freedom going and living on your own. So,
Yeah.
yeah, could not agree with that more. You nailed it there.
So I'll move on. Got my quote for the day. This is from John F. Kennedy.
Oh,
As as we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them. And
wow.
this struck a chord with me because I think about how often I say thank you, and when I say it, I really mean it. It's usually not just out of politeness, and I try to always like let people know how much I appreciate them.
Yeah.
But I think personally I could do a much better job of letting them know I appreciate them by calling the people I love more, or um, making sure when I ask how they are, they know that they can genuinely tell me how they are, and it's not just to like I'm good or like I'm doing well. Like no, when I ask it, I want them to know that I mean it. And I think the only way to get those answers that I want is to actually express gratitude in maybe a more obvious way than simply the words I use.
It's just practicing what you preach, you know?
Yes.
You know, all the stuff we talk about on the show, if you're not actually applying it to your daily rituals, like they're just words. Like
Yeah.
I really try and take a lot away from the show that we do together into what I do in my day to day, whether it's calling people or feeling gratitude or moving my body because that's a privilege or trying my best to be present when I'm with my family,
Yes.
or giving it my all in social circumstances or when I'm with my friends because they deserve that. You know, like you're just selling yourself short in life when you're not doing the things that you talk about because you're almost like facilitating this like facade almost.
It's so true. Like I think about like, am I following everything we talk about to a T in the way that we preach it? No, because that's not possible. And
Mm-mm.
I think that's something we definitely need to address is like
Everyone's human.
this mission is not about perfection. It's about improvement and growth. And I think about who I was. I mean, this is episode 12, so like 3 months ago when we started this.
Dang.
Yeah. I think about who I was just 3 months ago when we started this, and it's miles different than just how I feel about myself now, whether it be being present when I'm with people that I love, like I'm on my phone less. I'm taking care of my body and my mental, like I'm trying to express gratitude. Like it's just about that growth. And I think in terms of just staying on theme, like it's exactly like you said, until you really believe that you are growing, no one else is going to believe it. And it's the same thing with gratitude. Until you are truly grateful, people will see right through it. So I love that quote, and I think it's just about being genuine to our mission, really,
So
is what I
so
took away
true.
from it.
And it's also just recognizing that growth can be 1% every day. Like I love that you gave the long term of like how long we've been doing this show. Like I think one of the quotes I gave earlier in an earlier episode was don't underestimate what you can do in 5 years versus what you can do in like a week. Like you might overestimate what
Mhm.
you can do in a week, but never underestimate what you can do in the long term. Like we have gotten so much better at doing this show just by like doing it and working on the little things and really investing in the product, and now we're seeing the growth. And I love that you also recognize that like you feel better since we started this, right? And also like just giving yourself grace, you know? Like we're all human, don't need to be perfect, but as long as you're
Yeah.
making an attempt to do the things that you talk about, like that's fine by me.
You know, I just have to bring in another Ted Lasso quote.
Love it.
Higgins during a Diamond Dog session. That's where they all like talk about emotional things among, the coaches and higher ups of the team. And Higgins says, Roy's asking, can people change? And Higgins says, perfect is boring. Perfect is not what you want. But as long as you're growing and improving, that is the closest to perfect you can be, is
Wow.
striving.
You know, I was actually just talking about this with someone the other day, one of my friends from college, and he was just like, dude, like I've just had like a really rough weekend. Like I'm just not really feeling that good about like where I'm at like mentally and like physically. And he was like, and I like went out last night and like was with friends late and I didn't sleep well. And I asked him, I was like, did you have a good time? He's like, oh, I had a blast. I was like, then why are you upset? Like, he's like, well, I just don't feel good today. Like, I'm hungover. I'm tired. I feel like I haven't like been taking care of myself. And I'm like, make the change tomorrow. Do something for yourself today. Realize that you had a really good time with people that you wanted to spend time with. Like, I'm like, nobody's perfect, but you recognizing that you're not in a good place and realizing that you can make a change is improving and getting a little bit better.
I think I think that was such perfect advice what you gave him because it's also the idea of there's times I've texted you since we started this show, just being kind of hard on myself, whether it be I didn't like how I spoke in the first couple episodes, or maybe I was embarrassed or self-conscious about posting that one reel, whatever it be. And you just told me like, give yourself grace, give yourself slack. We are getting better at this. Genuinely changed my whole outlook on this. And it's so like I think you're able to give yourself grace when you know that you're making the right steps. It's
Yes.
way harder to cut yourself slack when you feel like you're moving in the wrong direction because then it's
Yes.
just guilt thought spiral.
You know what
So,
I always say? I say it's easy to be hard on yourself, but it's hard to forgive yourself.
ooh, yeah, yes. Like man, I think about even 2 months before we started the show, just the mental place I was in, just whatever the opposite of dog days are of winter, and just like really down in the dumps. I didn't feel healthy mentally or physically, and like I don't know. Seeing you for my birthday, really grateful for that, and also just us starting the show has changed my life in such a short time. And I think it's been a direct causation, not a correlation, a direct causation in how I'm living my life outside of filming this. And that's why, like, yeah, I mean, I'm on vacation right now, like, but this has to take priority because this is self-care to me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, yeah. Did you have another quote for us?
I'll just give us a quick one because I think you've actually used this one before, but I just thought it resonated with the show this week. It's from Charles Dickens, and I'm sure you know the quote. It's enjoy the little things, for one day you may look back and realize they were the big things. And I
Yep.
think that is actually both expressing gratitude and practicing it, like enjoying the little things, maybe not dwelling on the past, but cherishing those memories. And then also like thinking about it and counting your blessing and realizing that you feel this way because it was so good.
It's also like the Andy Dwyer quote from The Office, like, I wish you knew you were in the good old I wish you knew you were in the good old days when you were actually in them, or like knew about them when you're actually in them. And it's like
Yeah.
you are. But the only way to know you're in the good old days is to be grateful and present every day. Because then you realize how good things are. And yeah, I
Just a good one, man.
love that quote.
Well, I'll kick us off with our silent heroes. So I didn't want to step on this story, but it reminded me of the story about Linda signing her neighbor's thank you note. So, 72-year-old Puerto Rican native Irma Garcia graduated from George Mason University's program for seniors this past weekend with a degree in public administration and a minor in Spanish. She raised three children and eight grandchildren, all who went to school and got degrees, and she put her dream on hold and then decided to go back and get it later. And now she works part-time for a nonprofit. And it's just the same thing as earlier. It's just never too late to give up
Yeah.
on your dreams. And I also love that she was willing to share her story because I think I wouldn't say it's embarrassing, but I think maybe for a senior that is in the later stage of their life, it might be a little scary to embark on a journey like going and getting your college degree for, what is really a journey for young people. And the fact that she shared her story, did the degree and walked the stage, I just thought was so cool. Like
Yeah.
totally sound hero.
Yes. I love that you had a specific one this week, and like with just such a great story to tell. It's always so important to highlight those stories, and for us to at least that's kind of our way of expressing gratitude for them.
Yeah.
Um, we're really just, so will you say your name one more time?
Irma Garcia.
For Irma to accomplish this, later in her life, past when I guess the norm is, really shows it's never too late and never it's and how important it is to never stop learning. Like
Yeah.
you have kids, you go through these things in your life, but it is never ever too late. And that story is such a good perspective bomb for me. Like I need those all the time.
It's
Like,
also like, when you get to a certain age, your body is going to start failing you physically a little bit, but your mind will always be there, especially if you're training it, you know?
yes.
Like I think you pulled a stat at some point during an episode that was like the more you remain curious, the more you're actively using your brain. I think there was like a positive correlation between not getting dementia. I could totally, I totally have like the percentages wrong, but it was something on the lines of that.
There was reduced risk. The more
Yeah.
it goes perfectly in line with what your sister said. Like when I was told you I was worried about my brain, that your brain is like a muscle and you have to work it like anything else for it to stay.
Yep.
Um, and I found that to be really true also since we started this. Like, and also like I stopped smoking weed and like that really like both of those things I have felt sharper. I've been reading these stories. I've been, reading with my coworker when we go to the nearby shul. Like at the very least, I'm practicing my brain, not as much as I was when I was a student, but I'm trying my best to stay sharp, and I think it's really making a difference. So with that, I'll get into my silent heroes, kind of along the lines of Morgan, who's training to be a doctor, but my silent hero are just in general physician's assistants.
Oof.
Um, I find that I've had a ton of health anxiety recently, and most of the people I actually deal with are not the doctors themselves or the specialists themselves, but they're the physician's assistant. Like, and they're taking on dozens of appointments every single day, like walk-ins, like everything they have to do, and just scrambling.
Yeah.
Um, and it's they do nearly everything a doctor does, but not the title, not the pay. Um,
Yeah.
I've worked with, I take Accutane, and I've worked with the physician's assistant of the dermatologist, like way more than the actual dermatologist, who's great, no shade, and no shade to the physicians themselves, but I just think they deserve some appreciation, and of course, nurses as well fall into that exact same category with the administration and all the face-to-face bedside manner client privilege that they have to deal with every single day. It is so much of the, I don't know, I guess my dad would call it like more like grunt work that kind of goes underappreciated under the radar, but is essential for making us feel safe and also keeping, like, if you're like me, like I have white coat syndrome where like I get anxious the minute I step into a doctor's office. If you're like me, like you need a great nurse and a great physician's assistant to make you feel better. So those are my silent heroes this week.
Yeah, just the definition of a sound hero and just essential workers. And I think about, oh my God, what they were doing during the COVID-19 pandemic every day. Like, just never appreciated enough. So, yeah, such a good sound hero. And shout out to any of our listeners. If you have any family members that are physician's assistants or nurses or work in the medical field, they're appreciated on this show. Yeah. Win of the week and then close it out.
Sure, I can kick this one off. Um, my one of the week is also another silent hero related, but Nick Diorio, shout out to him. He makes me frustrated sometimes, but he's hosting us all in his house in New York this weekend, me and all my college buddies. So kind of him to do that, and I'm gonna try and show some gratitude to him at some point this weekend. Maybe I'll get him a little surprise, but um, he, him and all my friends, it's just so great to see them and for just putting us up and making sure that we get this necessary break from work to spend it with each other in this beautiful place is it's blessings that I never take for granted, or at least try not to anymore. So that's my one of the week and my other silent hero.
Sounds like something and someone you're very grateful for.
Yes.
My silent, no, not my silent hero. My win of the week is playing golf with my brother. Played golf with Jackson on Wednesday morning, and one, he is really good at golf, like really good. And two, just him being patient with me because I'm a little bit worse than he is, or a lot of it. And I also was just like counting the days in my head. Like I saw him for Mother's Day, but before that, I hadn't seen him since Christmas and New Year's. And now I won't see him for like a month and a half.
Wow.
So just helped me realize that I love him. And I'm glad that for all of the torture that I put him through as a kid and young adolescent, we are just such good friends. And like, I just genuinely like love spending time with him. And I'm glad he feels the same. And he's moving to Charlotte this week to start his finance internship with Huntington Bank. So just wishing him all the best. But that was my win, man. Just was really happy to spend some time with a person that means a lot to me.
Jax is the absolute man. He's finishing up his presidency at Beta at Ohio State next semester. I've been texting him about it, but I'm so happy that you guys got to see each other. And I talked about it last week, but I need to see my sister and my brother more, and I'm always so happy when I do. But with that, absolutely a win. Thank you all so much for tuning into episode 12 on why it is important to practice gratitude. We're grateful for all of you listening. We're grateful to be on this show and to be doing this every week. So, with that, take care and have a great week. See you next week.
Cheers.